Are you a law enforcement officer who has always dreamed about starting your own business and entering the world of entrepreneurship? Well, then this video is for you. Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 14 of the Recruiting Hero Show. My name is Colin Whittington, and I am your host today. I'm also the CEO and founder of Recruiting Heroes, LLC, a national employment agency that has worked with some of the world's biggest corporations and organizations. And I'm so excited to have you all here today to talk about entrepreneurship and how you can start your own business after your law enforcement career. I do want to quickly let you all know that next Saturday, February the 22nd at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'm going to be hosting my next free training session, and it's called Beyond the Thin Blue Line, Career Strategies for Law Enforcement Officers. This is going to be a 2-hour free training where I go over how to transition from a life of service to the private sector. We'll talk about how to identify skills, how to identify industries that align with your interests, how to write a fantastic resume, how to optimize your LinkedIn profile and use it to network to find your next career opportunity, and so much more. You'll also have plenty of time to ask any questions you may have. If you are interested, I'll put the link below to register. There are only a couple hundred spots, so make sure you do sign up ASAP. And if you're seeing this video after that event, I will post the free video afterwards as well, so you'll be able to check that out at any point in time going forward after February 22nd as well. But anyways, let's get right into this topic of entrepreneurship. So I want to talk about my journey really quickly to kind of give you an idea of where I'm coming from and how I think this is also possible for you. So my name again is Colin Whittington. I started off in the law enforcement profession in 2015 as a deputy sheriff for the Loudoun County Sheriff's Office. It's the largest full-service sheriff's office in Virginia, right about 40 minutes outside of D.C. And we have about 700 deputies and 200 civilian staff between courts, corrections, and patrol. So I was a patrol deputy working day shift and night shift throughout all of Loudoun County. I was then asked to become the agency's PIO, or Public Information Officer. In 2019, I was named Deputy of the Year for the entire state of Virginia, which was pretty awesome. I was then promoted to sergeant and put in charge of the Employment Services section, which oversees all the recruiting, background investigation, and hiring for everyone who's hired by the Loudoun County Sheriff's Office. And I was there for about 3 years. Like so many other law enforcement officers currently, I decided to leave the profession for a number of reasons. You can check out my older videos to see about my journey out of law enforcement. But I then transitioned to the private sector to a small IT firm in Northern Virginia as their recruiting director. As soon as I made the transition, I started getting messages on LinkedIn from first responders, veterans, law enforcement officers asking me for help with their transition. They had seen that I had made the transition and wanted to ask about the process and what I thought were good strategies and techniques that they could follow. And that was pretty cool, nice to get those messages, So I started reaching back out to them and giving them help here and there. And the more I was doing that, the more messages came in. It was like dozens a week, I would probably say. And I started realizing what a huge need there was in the market for people transitioning out of a life of service to the private sector, especially for law enforcement. The military does a decent job helping their personnel transition, and there are a lot of nonprofits that do the same. For law enforcement, we don't really do much to help our officers. Many agencies actually try to prevent their people from leaving, which of course I do understand, but we're not providing our officers any kind of resources to help them with their next career. So that's really how the idea of Recruiting Heroes started. And to be completely honest with you, my plan was for Recruiting Heroes to always stay a side business. That was my plan. I figured it would always be something I did a few hours a week, and I would have a full-time job in the meantime. So I got my LLC, which we'll talk about in a short while here. Then made my website and started reaching out to potential candidates as well as companies that might need help with recruiting. And over the next couple of months, business just started rolling in. It was unbelievable. It was nuts to watch. Within 4 months of starting my business, I was working a full-time job as well. I had become so busy with the amount of work we were receiving that I actually had to quit my full-time job. I know, first world problem, right? But in July of 2023, I was able to quit my full-time job and go full-time in my business. And it's been a year and a half now since I went full time, and it's been the most unbelievable journey. We are obviously a very small organization still. I'm hoping to grow it in the future. So if you are interested in joining a company that really wants to help our heroes with their career transition, reach out to me. I'd love to hear from you and to see what you could bring to the table. But it's just been a wonderful journey, and I really can't recommend entrepreneurship enough. Being my own boss has been so freeing. It's it's allowed me to have a lot of control over my own schedule and to also build something that I am personally invested in and really feel I'm making a difference in the world. Um, but if anyone tells you it's going to be an easy journey, that's absolutely false. If anyone tells you you're going to have a bunch of time off because you're your own boss, at least for me, that has been absolutely false. So I started my business on November 14th of 2022. I don't think a single day has passed since that date that I haven't at least done a little bit of work towards into my business. This includes while I was in France. This includes while I was on the beach in Jamaica. This includes holidays, my birthday, other holidays as well. Every single day, I am doing something on my business. So, and that may not be the healthiest thing, but I just have such a huge passion for what I'm doing that it doesn't feel like work to me. And when it's something you're building yourself, it really is truly unbelievable how much it doesn't feel like work and how excited and passionate you are. And that's really been the case for me. I have just been so excited about this business that I'm building, and the people that we're helping, that it just doesn't feel like it at all. Um, but that this mic sometimes cuts off. So um, anyway, so if you're starting to consider your career transition out of law enforcement, that's obviously something that we help with. But besides just helping people transition to employment opportunities, I would love to also help you with the idea of starting your own business. A lot of people think of starting a business as this humongous task that's absolutely terrifying, and they couldn't possibly do it because they have no business background, no knowledge in business. Let me tell you a fact about myself. I have, to this day, not taken a single business class in my entire life. I did go to college, but I got a degree in political science, not very useful for a business organization. Never taken any sort of certifications, never really done anything besides research myself on Google and YouTube, like these videos here. There are just so many phenomenal resources out there that you can teach yourself anything, and that's really been my process. So what I encourage you to do, if you do have an idea for a business, don't look at the entire amount of work that it's going to take in one big giant chunk and be so intimidated that you never start, because that's where most people end up failing. They get so overwhelmed by how much work they think will go into starting a business that they never even take the first step. If you have an idea for a business, here's what I encourage you to do. Keep your full-time job, no matter what it is, if it's in law enforcement or if it's in the private sector, keep that job for now and just start making daily steps towards that goal of yours, which is to run your own business. So it really doesn't have to be anything complicated. You know, people think the creating the actual legal entity of a business is difficult. It took me maybe 10 minutes. You know, you can go into Google and look up the requirements for your state. I got an LLC in Virginia, and it took me literally 5 to 10 minutes, cost about $100, and I had my business started. So technically, I had a legal business at that point in time. And again, within 5 or 10 minutes and $100. I then started my own website. I used GoDaddy. It's relatively affordable, super user friendly. Creating a website is so easy. I have no coding background, no website development background whatsoever. But if you go to recruitingheroesllc.com, you can see our website. It's not perfect. It's not professionally done, but I think it really gets the point across of what we're doing. And I think it looks great. And again, that was just me putting my own time into it. So that was, again, another maybe 70 some dollars per year to have that. I also needed to have an applicant tracking system since I was going to be helping companies with their recruiting efforts. I needed to have a way to stay organized. I use a company called Manital. It's an applicant tracking system. It's probably like a mid-level one. It's not the best by any means, but also not the worst. And it cost me about $50 per month. So again, not very expensive. From there, it was really just building out my website, building out my social media platforms, and then just reaching out to candidates and to companies who may need my services. So on a total, I think I put about $500 from my own money into my business bank account. Oh, that's another step I should have mentioned. Start yourself a business bank account because you'll absolutely need that. You want to keep any kind of business expenses separate from personal expenses because that's going to help you so much when it comes to time for tax season. And you want to start writing off business expenses, which is one of the coolest parts of being a business owner are tax write-offs. I'm by no means a financial expert, so talk to your own financial advisor about them. But it's been for me just unreal the fact that you can buy things that are going to help your business grow, and in many cases you can completely write them off from your taxes, which obviously make your taxes much lower. So that's something you would definitely want to check out. But have a business bank account, that way you can organize all your finances. But when I started my business bank account, I put $500 of my own money into the business account. That's it. And honestly, I probably could have done it with 200, but I didn't know, so I put $500 over. So the idea that you need, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, or millions of dollars to start a business, in many cases, is completely false. There's really, unless you have trying to start some massive tech startup, there's really no reason to go out and raise money or to get a loan for millions and millions of dollars or tens of thousands of dollars. In many cases, you can start a business for a few $100. Again, like I did, I put $500 in and didn't even use it all. So back to my story a little bit again. I was, again, working full time in my job, 40 hours a week, plus also putting in hours towards my business. And again, I got so busy where I was all of a sudden working around 40 hours a week into my business. So I was working just nonstop. So in July of 23, I talked to my wife about it. Having a supportive spouse or partner is so important. She was very, very supportive, believed in me, and told me to take the chance. We had saved enough money that we were able to give ourselves some runway, just in case the business didn't work out. And that's a big important part too. If you do start making money in your business, be smart about it. All right. Some people could get so excited they have all this extra cash coming in that they'll just go ahead and buy a nice car, buy a nice house, buy nice clothes. In the beginning part of your business, be very strategic. Set a lot of money aside for a rainy day or for when business may not be going quite as well, because those times will absolutely happen. And I'll tell you about some struggles that I had in the later part of this video. But what you want to do is, as money is coming in, do set some aside. Set some aside for taxes, as well as setting some aside for future business growth. You can, of course, pay yourself a reasonable salary, whatever you decide that to be. And obviously set aside money for taxes, but then also reinvest some and keep some aside just so you can have it in case the business does go through some slower periods, which can absolutely happen. But I had done so well in my first, 6-7 months in business, doing it part-time, that I had given myself a great runway. Because again, I didn't go out and blow all the money. I actually saved almost all of it. I paid myself very small amounts and invested a lot of it in the stock market as well. But I kept a lot of cash on the sidelines so that when it came time for me to want to leave my job, I had a decent chunk of money set aside that I could use it to continue to grow my business and also to support my wife and I as we went through our life, in case the business went through a few months without having any income. So definitely consider that as well. But then I went full force on my business and became my own boss. I think it was the very end of July in 23. And it was a very intimidating, scary process, but it was also very exciting. So don't think that you have to do that right away. I wouldn't suggest for most people to quit a job and then start a business and then see what happens. Do both at the same time. Have a job and start your business and see where it goes. Again, if it starts scaling and it starts growing like mine did, you can absolutely leave your job at any time. But don't put yourself in a position where you're so stressed. When you're stressed about making money, that's when you start making really poor decisions. When you're more secure financially, you can be really strategic with your thought process and make the best decisions for you, your business, and most importantly, your family as well. So take that time. But when it does come time that you start realizing, you know what, I can actually afford to do this full time, take the chance. It's amazing. You don't want to look back on life and have regrets. And that was my thought for sure. I was like, you know what? I could probably stay employed and do both for a little while longer. I'd be completely overworked and overwhelmed, and my business would probably stall some. Or I can take the chance and see where my business goes. And I did that. And it was a really amazing. The first year was unreal, absolutely unbelievable. So I don't really love talking about money, but just for the sake of this video, I do want to share some information to show what is possible. Okay. I'm by no means some mega millionaire tech startup founder. But in my first year, again, the first 7 months of it were part time. I made around $250,000, so $250,000 between working with candidates, but mostly working with companies. I would say 90% of the revenue that Recruiting Heroes makes is from working with companies who want to hire veterans and first responders. And what's great with that business model is I can keep the services that we have for our heroes, our resume writing, our LinkedIn optimization, interview training. I keep those so much lower than most companies because I'm able to charge the companies that we work with who are making, hundreds of millions of dollars. I can charge them far more than I would want to charge a police officer or a military veteran. But in my first year, again, half of it was part-time, made $250,000. So that was really exciting, and that's absolutely possible for you. Again, I have no business background whatsoever, but it started with a great idea, and that is what is so important for you as well. As you go through the process of trying to figure out what you want to do, think about how important this idea is and what impact it can make on the lives of others. And I really believe if you start a business with the intention of changing lives and improving lives, you're going to do so well financially, of course, but even more importantly, you're going to make such a big difference in someone else's life and hopefully the lives of thousands of others. And if you add those two together, you're going to give yourself a business and a lifestyle that is both rewarding, as far as like feeling good about what you're doing, but also rewarding financially as well. So do make sure you think about an idea that's going to make a difference, and don't just think about ideas that is going to bring a bunch of money to you, and that is your sole purpose of starting this business. Financials are important, and it's nice to have some income above and beyond what you're used to, but start the business off with the mission of helping others and improving people's lives, because from there you can do anything. So they talk about the sophomore slump in a lot of sports. People come out as rookies and have a phenomenal first season, and then the second year doesn't go quite as well. And that's something that actually happened to me. So 2024 was less successful than 2023, even though I was doing it full time. The job market was pretty terrible. Companies were hiring a little bit less, so I wasn't making as many placements as I was in the year before. Relying more on the income I was making from resume writing and LinkedIn, which of course is still fine, but it was certainly a bit of a sophomore slump, as I would say. And that's where it was important, the fact that I had not gone out and blown all my money that I had made in the first year. I had been very strategic with it, put a lot aside, invested quite a bit, so that if these downturns happened, I would be ready. And I still did very well last year, no complaints whatsoever, made far more money than I ever did as a deputy sheriff. But it was certainly a big dip from the year before. And having that extra cushion there just gave me the feeling of comfort and support, and knowing that, if this does go south for a little while longer, I'm still completely fine. And again, that allowed me to make the best decisions for me and my company. I wasn't making decisions just based off of money. I could pick the candidates and the companies that I wanted to work with. If a company reached out to me and wanted to offer terrible services and wanted me to do all kind of work on really bad things for my business, I could turn them away. I wasn't so desperate for work that I had to take every client who came my way. I could be very strategic with who I wanted to work with. And that's what I still do to this day. I want to work with companies who I think are going to be phenomenal partners for my business and be a great home for a lot of veterans and first responders. So if I get a vibe from a company that they're not really employee focused, I'd rather say, nah, no thanks. Maybe another company can help you out than just taking any kind of client I can get just for the simple fact of making money. So I can't stress this enough. Be very strategic with your income as it comes in, the revenue from your business, because you don't want to overspend thinking this is going to continue forever, because maybe even you can have a sophomore slump like I did, and you don't want to go through that kind of process because it is challenging. But yeah, I think the biggest parts for my business, the reason why I've been successful is because of, the marketing that we do. Almost all of it is free. We've done some Facebook ads. They've been okay, nothing great. But what we believe in is putting out a ton of free content. Up for the first year or two, it's been mostly on blogs, on LinkedIn. But now, as you're seeing, I'm trying out this YouTube thing as well, because I do think there's a huge audience on YouTube that could really benefit from what we're trying to do at Recruiting Heroes. So that's what I really believe in. I think free content, helping people with your content is so important, because then they can come back and become actual paying customers down the road. And if they don't, that's fine. You still help somebody. And that's what I really believe in. So use LinkedIn, use, X, Facebook, Instagram, whatever you believe in. Find a few of them that you really are talented with or really believe in and pursue those. Don't spread yourself so thin trying to do all of them because every platform is different and requires different knowledge and different strategies. If you try to be good at all of them, you'll end up just being average at all of them instead of being really good at one or two of them. So I've really, hammered home on LinkedIn, on my blog, and now on YouTube, whereas I'm much less active on Facebook, X, and Instagram are just kind of things I post on now and then, but aren't really a huge part of my strategy. But yeah, I think starting your own business, if you're a law enforcement officer, you have so many traits that are just so uh, powerful and so a great fits for being an entrepreneur. You have gone through some incredible hardships. You've had to overcome adversity. You've had to be phenomenal at problem solving and so much more. And these are all things you'll need as a business owner. You'll have to be able to put up with difficult times, think through problems. That's a huge one. Every single day I have a new problem I'm facing. I have no business background, so every single day something new is popping up, whether it be estimated taxes every quarter, filing taxes at the end of the year, write-offs, contracts, you name it. There's always new problems to figure out, but that's what makes this business and being a business owner so much fun is that there are new problems every day. So if you love that aspect of law enforcement, you will love to be a business owner. And again, this isn't for everybody. Some people are just great employees, and that's awesome. You should be an employee. But if you have an idea for a business, I highly encourage you to try to start it, even if it's just on the side for a few hours a week. It doesn't have to make you millions of dollars, but it can be something that really brings a lot of joy to your life. My wife's best friend, she bakes cookies, right? And she's been doing that for most of her adult life, and most of it was just doing it for friends and family. Well, she finally took the chance and started her own side business, And again, she's still a full-time teacher and does this on the side. But how cool is that her passions are now a business? And it may or may not ever be her full-time thing, but it's something that brings her a lot of joy and passion. I hope you do the same. Because if you have something that you think you can bring to the world, you owe it to yourself and to the world to bring it forward because you never know where it can take you. Again, Recruiting Heroes was always supposed to be a side hustle, a little side business. And now it's become, a national employment agency. We've worked with companies like Allied Universal, the second biggest security firm in the country, in the world, L3 Harris, a large government contractor, Wegmans, one of the biggest food distribution and food stores in the world as well, and many others. And again, we're only 2.5 years in, so I cannot wait to see what year 3, 4, 5, year 10 brings us. So if you are starting a business, I would love to hear what you're considering. If you need any help with it, let me know as well. But for now, put down in the comments what business you're considering starting or have already started, and what information could be useful to you in future videos. But again, I do hope I see you on February the 22nd for our free training. The link is going to be down below, so do register before it fills up. It's going to be a phenomenal 2-hour class, completely for free. Don't have to stay for the whole thing if you don't want to. You can come and go as you please, but do come check it out. I'd love to see you there. And as always, do subscribe to this channel, like this video, and comment below. All right, guys, that's all I have time for today. It's been so fun talking to you about my journey in entrepreneurship, and I hope to see you as the next business owner as well. Bye, guys.